So hello, I'm going to show you how to use our workflow and help us identify and classify radio galaxies. So when you press classify, you will be shown one of these panels that have the same radio source, but in different configurations. We have the default, the zoomed in version, and the zoomed out version. This is how the source looks in the radio, and we ask you to characterize and classify and identify the object that's in the crosshair, in the center of the little box. We also overlay it on top of optical images, which is the second row, right? The zoomed in version, the default, and the zoomed out. So you see the whole source. And then we overlaid the radio counters of the radio source on the infrared image, which helps you identify objects that are a bit further away. So let's see how we would assemble the source, identify the host galaxy, and how would we classify it using descriptive tags. So the first step, it asks you to draw the total source box. Some radio sources have one component, and some radio sources are made out of several components. That's why we ask you to put the whole source in a box. So it goes a bit like this. So I think that the source that is here at the crosshair, it's actually part of this radio source, of this structure, because I see it's joined, it's continuous, right? So I think it's part of this bigger structure, and that looks a little bit bent to me. The next step is to mark the host galaxy. Where do you think the radio emission is coming from? The radio emission is marked with the counters, and the optical emission, which gives me the host, is the background. Okay, these orange and yellow dots are galaxies. So if I want to see a bit more, I can use the zoom functionality here, zoom in functionality. So let's see the source. The object in the crosshair doesn't have an associated host with it. It doesn't have a background source. So it also has a peculiar morphology. It's a bit bent. So I do think that the host is this yellow little dot. Let's mark it. So I will mark it. So I think this is an active galaxy, actually. So emission that originates from the area around the supermassive black hole. And these are jets of radio emission, and they are bent backwards, probably because the source is moving inside the cluster. So I think this is the host galaxy. I will zoom out now. Let's see. Right. The last step, it's asking me to draw boxes for counters that do not belong. What does this mean? Here I draw a box that includes the source of interest, okay? The source that is related to the subject in the crosshair. But I do not think this part belongs to the same parent source. So let me zoom in again. And I actually see that there is a galaxy in the background associated with this emission. So I will exclude it from my assembly, from my blue box. Let me see if there is something else I would like to exclude. I would like to exclude this one also. Maybe it's not radio emission, this part. Maybe it's just noise. And I would like to exclude this little thing here. So, right. If you need some help with this task, we have tutorials that can help you. So I'm happy with my assembly and host identification. This is the radio source. These are not part of the radio source, and this is the host. So I will go to the next step of the workflow. that is asking me to characterize the source based on descriptive tags. Okay, I can use any of these, as many as I want, or if I think they don't represent the structure of the radio source, I use none of them. And this is information that we can use also when we analyze the data. Let's see. So the source is bent because this is the way I think. This is the host galaxy. The jets should be forming this way, and the source moves through the cluster, so the jets are bent backwards. So the word that characterizes the source is bent. It is a bit amorphous because it has peculiarities. Do I see core emission? I see emission associated with the host galaxy, so I will also mark core. Is it like an hourglass? Not really. Do I see jets? Yes. Do I see lobes? I see some, yes, I see lobes. Is it like a plume, like a feather? Not to my eyes. Does it have a tail? I would say so. It has some tails here of faint emission. Does it trace the host galaxy? I don't think so, because the emission extends beyond the host galaxy. So I cannot really see the disk of the galaxy and the emission on top of the galaxy. So I would say not this one. Am I happy? I'm happy. So I can click done and move to the next subject. Or if this subject is very interesting and I want to notify some of the scientists on the team, I will click done and talk, and then I can start a discussion. So let's do this part just for the fun of it. It opens a new window. Okay, and then I can leave a note about the subject. Very interesting subject. It looks like a bent source. The edge of one of the tails is on the crosshair, while the rest of it is to the right side. The little compact source here, compact radio source, is not associated with the parent galaxy. This is how I would write it, like an astronomer, but I will not. So I will say is not associated with the subject source. So now when I add my comment, the scientists of the project will get notified and we can start discussing about this very interesting object. If you have questions about how to classify, there is a field guide here that gives you information about how to do the source assembly, the radio source assembly. So you see here, the emission is not joined. So we would like you to join the two sources into one. There are some very nice examples. You can go through them. How to identify the host galaxy. What happens if you have radio emission that you think does not belong to the subject? Which tags should you use? So we have a lot of examples for its tag. You can skim through them. Can you use multiple tags? Of course you can. We have some examples here of how objects look when different tags, multiple tags characterize them. What if some emission doesn't look real, it's an artifact, then you don't use a tag, and this is information for us, or you can also use the talk functionality and notify us about it. We have here detailed examples of how to do the tagging. Okay. And of course, the talk forum and your discoveries. This is very important. So please communicate with us. We're happy to discuss further about this. Let me close the field guide. You can find more information about what the project is and what we are looking for. Okay, why we need your help. It's very important to identify and classify all these radio sources, because we want to do this in 40 million objects, and we need your help for that. You can find information about the team who has built this citizen science project. Okay. And we have an education parameter for our project. And if you would like to get involved, please let us know, contact us, and we are happy to have you on board. So thank you very much, and happy classifying.